Good morning. This is Bill from Out of Europa, Naples on a lovely, wet Florida Friday that truly isn't all that lovely, but the good news is the airport seems quiet this morning. Our scout bird is still hanging out, still watching me. Probably didn't like me threatening him the other day, but at least it's keeping him on the wire. And today, in celebration of little Greta Thunberg winning Time Magazine's Person of the Year, putting her in such good company as your Adolf Hitlers and Joseph Stalins, I have this 1993 Ford F150 Lightning. Okay, here's the thing with this truck. I mean, I have been pondering this truck since it came in. I mean, obviously it's not the kind of thing that we usually have here, although I do like weird and unusual crap. There's no doubt about that, and that does sort of fit the mold here. But I have a strange duality going on with this truck. I have a problem that I can't quite come to terms with. Here's the thing about it, is I think the idea of a performance truck is kind of stupid. I mean, it's a truck. I mean, its purpose in life is not driving around a racetrack or even accelerating in the quarter mile, although I know a lot of nitwits out there seem to have that idea today, particularly the big diesels. I think those people should just be shot. But anyway, the idea of a performance truck is quite dumb. And, I did a lot of research on it last night because obviously, I remember when it came out. It was, I loved the Cyclone and the Typhoon, because every kid did in those days, and the 454 SS that Chevy built was kind of cool, and then this Lightning came out to compete with that. So, I was aware of it. I'd forgotten it, but I was aware of it, and I remembered quickly. And then I did a lot of research, looking at it, thinking about it, and I found a Car and Driver write-up on it, which was kind of interesting, because two guys that I like a lot, they both gave it a score based on their review of it. A guy named Brock Yates, brilliant car guy, maybe one of the greatest car guys of all time. It was responsible for a movie called The Cannonball Run, which is still, again, a pretty stupid movie, but one of my favorite of all time, and I can quote it basically front to back verbatim. And then another guy, Patrick Bedard, who's sort of an elbow patch, SCCA vintage class racer sort of guy. And the two of them scored it. And Brock Yates gave this an 85 out of 100, and Patrick Bedard gave it a 3 out of 100. And that kind of very nicely sums up my feelings about it. I mean, I can't look at a truck like this and read about what, Ford and SVT did to it and say, oh, they were wrong. I mean, how can a car guy argue with putting a hopped up, 351 Windsor in what could be considered a light truck with GT40 heads, tuned for racing, a high duration camshaft, a built transmission, the E4 OD with a cooler, headers, bumping it up to 300, what did it have then? 240 horse, which doesn't sound like a lot now, but was then, more than the Mustang GT, in fact. And then they didn't leave it at that. They put 1-inch sway bars on it. They lowered it 2.5 inches. They put real fancy struts in the front, fancy little single leaf spring in the back with little extensions that cured wheel hop, a 4-inch aluminum drive shaft, 410 posi rear end. They had a big true dual exhaust, stainless from the factory. They did a lot of this stuff to this truck that's pretty cool, and it's the kind of stuff I can't argue with. And yet here it is. So, they sold the truck as a Mustang GT with a cargo bed, and that was pretty fair because it did have very much the same performance figures as a Mustang GT, not just in acceleration, but also in terms of handling. It was very close to it. But one could argue that's more an indictment of the Mustang GT with its, little solid rear axle than it is a compliment to this F-150 Lightning. So, there's that. You know what? Let's just get into it. Let's just get into the damn thing. All right. I do like this. I like this big fiberglass bed cover. I'm pretty sure it's factory because a lot of the Oh my God, that's hard to do one-handed. A lot of the photos I saw of these things last night had it, so it probably, yeah, I guess, I don't know. Either it came from the factory, it's just a real common upgrade. Anyway, one thing I like is if you're going to put wheels on a truck, first of all, I think they should improve the look of the truck, and I'm not sure these ones do, but they're there, and I have to deal with them, so there they are. But thank God this guy did save the original wheels that came with this. There they are, this 17-inch teardrop Lightning wheels. Which is good. That's obviously very good for collectability that they're still there, and I can appreciate that. While this is a short bed, you know, it still is useful. You can still put stuff in here that you need to haul. It's slightly diminished cargo capacity from the regular F-150, but the tow capacity was about the same, maybe a little less than the standard F-150. It'll tow 5,000 pounds, so you could still drag a car around with it, which is useful. Oh, God. Anyway, you see the color-coded bumpers. I think that's pretty neat stuff. Monochrome was the thing in the 90s. Back in 93, you could get this truck in only red or black. They did make slightly fewer red ones. Later on, they did add white as a color choice, and they made this truck, this 9th generation F-150, from 93 through 95, and they built 11,000 of them, which might sound like a lot, but you have to consider that they made 500,000 F-150s a year, so by comparison, this thing is pretty damn rare, and has achieved a certain degree of collectability. You know, if you look at your Haggertys and your Hemmings, all of them are calling it a real bargain collectible. They think it's something that's going to go up based on, you know, modern interest in pickup trucks, and it's, you know, sort of comparative rarity. God, I just find myself stalling. We have another overhead plane slowly droning right above us. Oh, God. Anyway, let's look under the hood. All hard to do one-handed, of course. Oh, for the love of God. All right. Sorry about that. Zigging the camera around. So here it is. Here is, again, this 351 Windsor, 5.8 liters, GT40 inspired racing heads on it. It's got forged aluminum pistons, it's got a bigger camshaft, it's got tuned intake runners. They really did put the engineering into this engine. It didn't appear in any other Ford product. Not really. I mean, it's, you know, in this particular incarnation was just in the Lightning. This guy added a K&N filter, which is a pretty good upgrade for these because it does add to the horsepower. I guess they were a bit restricted from the factory. Don't know if he has the original intake or not. We'll find out. But, you know, that is a true performance engine, 325 pound-feet of torque. The thing would accelerate 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds, quarter mile in about 15, a little more than that. And that was pretty damn quick for a... for any car of this vintage, never mind a pickup truck. So you have to hand it to Ford and the special vehicle team guys who built this thing. And again, with the suspension mods, the beefed up tranny, oh God, okay, the beefed up transmission, gotta remember not to use that word, the 410 rear end. I mean, it is all stuff that's pretty neat, and I can't help but appreciate it. You know, as far as like the condition of this thing goes, it's all very nice under here. This guy really looked after this truck, and yeah, that'll become more apparent as we get into it. But anyway, so even if I think performance pickup trucks are kind of strange, I do have to appreciate the way Ford set it up. Now, performance this thing, not only did the 454 SS precede this thing, if you go all the way back to 1964, there was a Dodge pickup truck that had a 426 wedge motor in it, and that is widely considered to be the first true sort of muscle car performance truck. So this thing had lots of predecessors, but it was certainly an early version of that. You got to kind of love the color-coded front bumpers with the air dam. That was all special to this Lightning. The fog lights down low, the monochrome grille, the monochrome light surrounds. Definitely has a very nice look. I don't know why they didn't continue the monochrome into like doing the trim around the front windshield, but I guess being blacked out was enough. I got phone calls coming in. I also have these little drip rails in this thing. And again, I don't not like pickup trucks. I mean, my Silverado, that's the only thing I drive anymore. That's it. I mean, I just love that thing. So, I mean, it's not like I'm against pickups. I just find them to be a bit weird when you get into trying to make one into a sports car. Continuing around it, you can see the original paint is mint on this thing. This guy's added some sort of a service truck thing on the door that I'm torn on. Lightning Motors service truck. That is not factory. It is vinyl lettering, so it would come right off if you wanted to take it off. But I guess it's neat in its own way. Kind of a, you know, I don't know, custom car show type situation. They put that Lightning logo on the flanks. That's pretty cool. Looks very nice. And you see the two gas doors. And this is why I go back to little Greta Thunberg. This thing holds almost 35 gallons of gasoline in its dual tanks, and it uses it very, very quickly. In fact, it'll suck gas down like a whale does plankton. I mean, it is a gas hog, and that is certainly something I could appreciate as an internal combustion guy. You did have these black mirrors in the first year. They became sort of aero monochrome in later years, and anyway, it is what it is. Let's just hop in this thing. Got black door handles. So in here, this was probably one of the first pickup trucks to use very sporty looking bucket seats. They had all these inflatable adjustments for thigh support and back support to keep you, you know, bolted in the thing as you're running around the racetrack, I guess. As far as I know, these seats didn't appear in anything else. They have this weird little, you know, adjustable thigh support that's kind of cool. They've got the Lightning logo embroidered into them, and they are pretty damn comfortable seats for a pickup truck, I have to say. You do get a nice big wide center console. I presume this is some aftermarket thing to make it soft on the old elbows. But you know, that's because this thing was made for a bench seat, so it had plenty of room when they put buckets in it to put stuff in there. You got Lightning floor mats. You got a nice little, you know, sporty, cheapy thing to make the doors look sportier. You got your power windows and locks. The thing was an XLT basically, which was a high option package at the time, and it added about $3,000 to that. The XLT went for about 19. If you opted for the Lightning package, it was, you know, almost another 3 on top of that, which seems cheap. So I'm surprised they didn't sell more. And the plane again, thank God this one's kind of quiet. Anyway, let's hop in, fire it up, get out of the sound. Alright, so key in the ignition. I can't, what is going on with this thing? We've got a loose. Alright, there we go. Okay, there was a nice meaty V8 rumble when you fire it up. That's lovely. I mean, as a car guy, that's absolutely lovely. You get this little perforated sport leather steering wheel. You get a special instrument cluster that gives you full gauges. You got your water temp. You got your oil temp. You got your voltmeter, your fuel, your tach, and of course your 120 mile an hour speedo. This thing is limited to 111 by engine management. I presume that's when the aerodynamics run afoul. This guy, even though the dash is nice, he has put one of these covers on it, presumably to protect it from the Florida sun. And on that cover, he's put this sort of cheesy Amazon accessory rear view camera, which I don't know if it works. Let me put it in reverse and see. Yeah, look at that. All right, so you got a rear view camera up there, which I guess is going to help you hook up to a trailer if that's your thing. You got fog lights over here. You've got an aftermarket Pioneer, or is it a Dual? I don't know, whatever. It's some kind of cheesy aftermarket radio. I would probably put the original Ford radio back in there. Down here, you've got the climate control right out of a same-year Mustang. You got an extra 12-volt outlet there. Being in the 90s, you still have a true ashtray. He's installed a fire extinguisher. This should come standard on every Range Rover, right exactly where this is, right where the driver can grab it. Every Range Rover should have a fire extinguisher like that mounted, if not a total fire suppression system. But anyway, that's an aside. After my own heart, this guy has installed a CB. Love it. We're on channel 9. Let's go to 19. Welch is up. All right, and now we can communicate with the truckers. Nice. You have a couple of cup holders there. Inside this console, you have a place for stuff. Obviously, you're going to fit all kinds of handguns in this thing. You could have 2 9mm in that. You could have a sawed-off shotgun down there. Unless you're nude, don't touch this car. Well, it's one of those clever car show things that people do. That way we know he's heterosexual. You've got another spot to put some, you know, spare magazines and maybe another 9mm. What do we have in here? There's something in here. Reading glasses. I'm gonna rob those. And anyway, everything nice. You also get a little bit of behind seat storage up there. Being a collector guy, he got all this stuff. So here's a certificate you could get from Ford, the Lightning Registry certificate. This one's number 48. I'm sure that's great. This is all pretty cool. More Lightning stuff in the binder, everything that's ever been done to it, all the service records, all kept since new, all pretty neat stuff, and presumably that's the home it used to have before it came here. So very, very nice stuff there, that they've kept all of that. And let's see what this is. This is now Ford Lightning information book. They unleash the power of lightning. Oh, for the love of God. You got special vehicle team notepads, you got whatever. Anyway, there it all is. And then in this thing, I don't know what that's going to be, probably a brochure or something. I'll take pictures of that and have it on the site. So are we hot enough yet? Water temp is hot though. Oil's still pretty cold, so let's go for a spin. Very nice air conditioning. Definitely you're sitting a bit lower in this thing. I do feel like I'm as low as I am in the Silverado. We got sun visors. You got a pretty nice big expansive hood in front of you. I've always been a Chevy guy, so being in this Ford is a little bit, you know, everywhere you go, there's going to be you know, you go to Sweden and you're going to have Saab and Volvo guys at each other's throat. Germany, you have Mercedes and BMW guys, Toyota and Honda. There's always this rivalry, and of course, Ford and Chevy is one of the best. But at this time in life, I was definitely a Chevy guy. Certainly GM anyway. So what can you do to this? You could chip tune it because it is computer controlled. A lot of people did that. It's got that would help with your help with your, this probably is chip tune. That was a nice firm shift. I'm gonna let that oil temperature heat up a little bit. Turn that air down. It's a little bit chilly. I guess that's already where it needs to be. Look at these. They actually, again, they speed up to not let you out. They'll be devastated. And look at this guy diving in. The jerk merge. You know, the jerk merge is one of those things that I think should, and now he's back out again. Genius. Brilliant human. Probably attended the Sorbonne. But the jerk merge should be a death penalty thing in my mind. These idiots, you know, there's this stream of cars trying to merge on the interstate or take a right turn, and some nitwit who thinks he's clever has to drive, you know, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour down the side of the stopped row of cars and then put on his signal as though he's not an idiot and try to wedge himself in between the gap between two cars where somebody's left a little bit more than, you know, the space for one car. That guy should be pulled over and killed, summarily executed on the side of the road. You know, if this is back in the day when it was Hitler or Stalin on the cover of Time magazine instead of little Greta, that kind of thing would happen. I'm not saying it's good, I'm just saying it should. Anyway, let's see what we got. Do we have enough temperature? Okay, and this is what's his name? Brock Yates was talking about. He loved the idea of a pickup truck that had balls beyond the norm. And that's what this thing does. I mean, the 454 SS, somehow Chevy managed to only get like 255 horse out of it, which is embarrassing. But that's all they did. They really didn't beef anything else up. SVT and Ford, they actually tuned all the suspension. They made this thing into a bit of a performance vehicle, as weird as that sounds to say. You could run it around a racetrack. Just give it a little kick down. Got a lovely sound out of that stainless exhaust. And, you know, nice track down the road. The steering is surprisingly nimble. I mean, I get why people like driving these things, I guess, why they were considered to be a nice truck at the time. But again, I just think the whole idea of a performance truck is just a little bit silly. It's just a little silly. Anyway, this one is on consignment with us. I didn't buy it outright because I don't trust the market on weird old performance trucks, but from what I hear, they're increasingly collectible, so maybe you can get in on the ground floor before these things go through the roof. We'll see. Who knows? If you have an interest in it, you can call Marty at 239-298-8000. You can see all the photos at aenaples.com, and otherwise, you know, I'll find something to review Monday or Tuesday. We'll come back with, I don't know, with something that's more me. Something that's more me. There it is. So thank you very much for having a look. I appreciate it. Hang on for 1 sec. We'll get another little blast. We'll see if I can't get pulled over this morning. And we'll see you with the next one. Take care. The hell with it. Too much red light. Never mind. See you next time. Take care. Bye.